jump right in and get started. I'm going to share my screen. Remember, if you want to interrupt me at any point, if I'm going too fast or you have a question, feel free to do so, and I'll leave some time at the end of the meeting for you to ask questions, and you can also use the chat box to type questions if you're more comfortable doing that. So here we go. Our main focus tonight is going to be on Unit 2, which is our social media recommendation memo. But before we jump into that, I want to just quickly review a couple things from Unit 1, as well as add in some things that I noticed, I guess, that I think that we can work on for Unit 2. So you should have seen that I returned grades for the Unit 1 LinkedIn memo assignment. I finished doing that this afternoon. So make sure when you are looking at your grade that you're doing more than just looking at the number. I will always leave kind of just a couple of sentences as an end comment. And then I'll also usually have left quite a few in text comments where I'm pointing out specific things within the memo and then, or within your assignment, and giving you feedback, either letting you know that something worked really well or maybe that it didn't, and typically explaining why. If I say something didn't work well, I'll explain why and or give you an example of how it might be better. So make sure that you're reviewing the comments. If you aren't sure how to review the comments, there's links on our what used to be our homepage. You should be able to navigate there. There's 2 links toward the bottom that explain what you need to do in Canvas to get to the comments. If you're having troubles, you can let me know. So overall, I think that everybody did a pretty good job on the memo. I saw lots of really good formatting with descriptive headings, nice short, concise paragraphs. A lot of people used bullet points or numbered lists, and just about everybody really nailed the content in terms of giving the directive, providing the deadline, and giving training and incentives. One thing I noticed was missing from a number of memos was a closing paragraph. And I didn't really deduct any points if people were missing a closing paragraph because we didn't talk a lot about that. But it is always good to end a memo with at least a couple of sentences that are really positive, and usually like thanking the group of people or the person that you're writing to for whatever it may be. Thanks for all your hard work and effort. I'm confident we can move forward in a positive way. Something along those lines. If you have any questions, check with me, check with your manager, whatever the case may be. So just it's kind of generic, actually, this closing paragraph, but it is kind of a convention or an expectation that the memo doesn't just end abruptly. So you want to include, again, a closing statement or a closing paragraph. Some of the things that I think we can build on in terms of formatting is really highlighting. So I want to show you a quick example of what I mean by highlighting. And this here, I pulled from one of the really strong memos in class because I think it's good to use examples from class. And this one just worked really well as far as these 2 opening paragraphs go. So I'll show you what I mean by highlighting. At the beginning, we see Office Gadgets is in need of expanding, and a great way to increase sales is through LinkedIn. So we had a nice direct opening here that explained what we're doing and why in a really nice, concise sentence. LinkedIn is an important online social media networking resource for those seeking employment, but also for businesses to create new customer contacts. 43% of marketers have found a new customer through LinkedIn. Our company will be setting up LinkedIn on April 28th, 2021. So as I mentioned, a really strong opening paragraph. One thing that would need to be edited here is that the company is not really setting up LinkedIn on April 28th. The company expects that everyone is signed up. So we would make this little change, and I'll show you what I mean by highlighting. So one example of highlighting is to use bolding to bold important information that you want to stand out. So I know it's called highlighting, but it doesn't literally mean like to highlight in yellow. It just means any way that you can make a word or a phrase or a sentence stand out from the rest. So since this deadline is important, it's a deadline and the expectation is that employees meet it, it would work really well to bold it so that it stands out. And if someone wants to go back and find that deadline, their eye is going to be drawn to it really easily. You could also choose to bold and underline, makes it stand out even a little bit more. Or you could choose to just underline, which works also. You can't overuse the bolding and the underlining, otherwise it loses its effect. So you want to choose wisely what items you might bold or underline. Another form of highlighting is using italics, and there's a good place to use that here in the second paragraph. So LinkedIn is being put in place to increase sales overall. Profiles will be public for potential customers to view what there is to offer. Companies that have a greater proportion of their employees on LinkedIn have more followers on their company pages. In fact, 9 out of the top 10 brands with the most followers on LinkedIn have at least 60% of their employees on LinkedIn. So I would italicize that. It doesn't have quite the same effect as bolding and underlining. It doesn't draw the reader's eye necessarily like, whoa, this is important, but it adds that little extra emphasis, like, this is interesting, right? I'm kind of highlighting this point to say that there should be emphasis on it and that you should pay attention to it. So those are the 3 main highlighting techniques that you would use in professional writing: bolding, underlining, and italicizing. And again, you want to use them sparingly so that they are effective. Any questions about that?
No. No.
All right. The second item that I want to look at is sentence structure. So a lot of people in their justification wrote that they focused on sentence structure as part of their rhetorical strategies. But most people, when they said that they focused on sentence structure, actually talked more about word choice or overall organization or paragraph length. And that's not what sentence structure is. Sentence structure refers to the actual length of sentences and whether they're simple sentences or complex or compound sentences. And it really does make a huge difference in your writing, whether you vary your sentence lengths, which is good and what you want to do, versus if you have very consistent sentence lengths. And I'm going to show you an example here in 1 second. But I want to also tell you that most of us, just by default, have sort of a set sentence length that we write naturally. Mine is somewhere in the area of like 18 words. I tend to write long compound sentences. I find a lot of students tend to sit right in like the 8 to 9 word sentence length range. And it's really easy for you to be able to tell what your default is. Just go back to something that you've written, choose one of the longer paragraphs, and it's a little bit tedious, but you'll actually count the words in each sentence and write down that number, and you should see a pattern emerge. You should see that you tend to write sentences of a certain length. And that's okay when you're first putting a piece of writing together, but then when you go back and you proofread it / revise it, you want to work on varying that sentence length. And here's why. So this particular piece is written about sentence lengths, and it also uses different sentence lengths. So I'll read it to you to demonstrate the difference. This sentence has 5 words. Here are 5 more words. 5-word sentences are fine, but several together become monotonous. Listen to what is happening. The writing is getting boring. The sound of it drones. It's like a stuck record. The ear demands some variety. Now listen. I vary the sentence length and I create music. Music. The writing sings. It has a pleasant rhythm, a lilt, a harmony. I use short sentences and I use sentences of medium length. And sometimes, when I'm certain the reader is rested, I will engage him with a sentence of considerable length, a sentence that burns with energy and builds with all the impetus of a crescendo, the roll of the drums, the crash of the cymbals, sounds that say, listen to this, it is important. So write with a combination of short, medium, and long sentences. Create a sound that pleases the reader's ear. Don't just write words, write music. So what are some of your impressions in that? Can you hear how the writing sounds differently in that very first paragraph versus the middle and the last paragraph? or I'll ask, have you ever thought about sentence length before? Is that something that you have worked on in your own writing or considered?
Yeah, yes,
Yes, it's something you've thought about and considered.
yes. Because sometimes I can tend to run on, like if I have to go back and read and see where I can put sentences. I mean, put periods, so I won't make the sentence so long because it gets confusing after a while if it just runs on and on.
Okay, so you tend to gravitate toward those longer, more complex sentences.
Yes.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Does this make an impression or make you realize anything about your own writing?
Yeah, that was like me too, because every time that I was put like have a period, I always used to always have say and after, and I did not like that. So I would like try to do like long paragraphs as well.
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, you would actually work on combining shorter sentences.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. And that's exactly the idea is if you do the exercise where you go back, if you're not familiar with how you write or you'd never realized your sentence length before, go back, check it out, become aware of it, and then make changes so that you vary the length of your sentences. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll move on, jump into Unit 2, which is our social media recommendation memo. So the assignment in a nutshell, if you haven't already read it, I'm just going to give a brief version of it. You're going to present a plan or a strategy that's going to help improve a small company's social media presence. Your audience, so your reader, is the owner of the small business that you choose to work with. And you want to think of them as your client because you in this unit, remember last unit, you were the director of operations. Here, you're like an entrepreneur and you own a social media consulting company and you are trying to get some business. So this is a potential new client that you're writing to. So that's the framework that you want to set up and that's how you want to begin the memo in your first paragraph, which I will talk just a little bit more about in a second. Finding a company. It shouldn't be that hard. Think local, like whatever town that you live in, there should be small restaurants or stores in some area. Don't pick a chain. Chains tend to have really good, strong social media presence because social media presence is important these days. And there's a lot of research that's gone into how to do it well. And the companies with more money and more, I guess, elaborate marketing teams, they all do social media really, really well. It's the mom and pop shops and the small business owners that only have one location that tend to either not have the knowledge to do social media marketing very well, or they don't have the time to do it very well, or they're just not even aware that it's a thing. So think about those, again, those local restaurants, local antique shops, even local hardware shops, anything along those lines that is a small singular business. And then you will actually go forth and check out the different social media platforms, the major ones, and I'll go through that list and make sure that they have poor social media presence. If they have no social media presence, that works too. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of businesses that just have nothing. No existing Facebook page, they have no existing Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. So either zero social media presence or a really bad social media presence. And we'll talk about what constitutes a bad social media presence in a second. This is really important. The company's website is not relevant to this assignment. The website is different than social media because on a company's website, you can't be social. It's just a completely different type of internet presence. So you don't even need to look at the company's website. If you want to, you can, but you shouldn't be writing about it very much in the assignment. Questions so far?
No.
All right. Okay, so a quick clarification. What is social media? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, blogs, and vlogs. These are the strongest, or I guess the most common examples of social media. I would say when you choose a business and you want to go check and make sure it's not on social media, start with Facebook and then go down the list to Instagram and Twitter. If they don't have those three, you're pretty safe to do the assignment. YouTube should be on that list too. YouTube is definitely these days considered social media because we can do the liking and the following and the commenting. What social media is not, down here in the bottom right, is websites, as we talked about, radio, billboards, magazine ads, and print materials. That's considered old media. So before the internet came around and everybody started using it, that's how we advertised, this list on the right. Now we have new media, which is the list on the left, and that's what we're concerned about for our assignment. You're not limited to the above list of different social media types. I guess like Tumblr could be another one, although that's kind of phased out. Reddit would count. What's the other one? Snapchat, right? So you can be creative in terms of the social media platforms that you're going to suggest that the company uses. I do think that Facebook is a pretty strong choice for almost any business, but you can really pick anything you want. If you have got a platform and you're not really sure if it qualifies as social media, like sometimes students tend to want to use Yelp or something. Yelp is not social media. You can't, like businesses don't have a dedicated page where they're posting and having conversations with customers on Yelp. So that doesn't qualify. If you have a question, just shoot me an email and ask. So let's go over what a bad social media presence looks like. And what's interesting, I always think about this is that once we talk about it, you probably will realize that you already know inherently what bad social media versus good social media looks like, because you as a consumer, you like good social media. You're drawn to it, you interact with it, you follow and like the pages that do a good job, versus bad social media, you skip over it really quick and you don't really have much to do with it. So let's take a look at the bad. And I've got an example site that I'm going to pull up first. So I live in Crown Point, so I picked a restaurant that's right here on the Crown Point Square. It's called 12 Islands. And this is their Facebook page. So we can see the last post was on July 12th, 2019. Right there, that's bad social media. They haven't posted in over a year. So frequency of posting is one of the criteria that you can use to determine good versus bad. You want to see posting happening at least a couple times a week, definitely more than once a year. And we can see here, like looking back 2014. So this one's really terrible. Looks like they kind of try once in a while, but really there's zero effort here. Another criteria that we can see is lacking here. If we disregard how old the posts are, we just look at the posts themselves, they're all text, right? Everything is just black and white writing. This is a restaurant. There needs to be pictures of food. There could be videos of a birthday party because they've got like a banquet room, right? So we could have some type of visual media happening that would engage people and make them actually interested in the site. Something else that restaurants can do is post recipes. So they can share content that doesn't necessarily make the customer have to come into the restaurant, but it's valuable content for the customer. Like, gosh, I just love 12 Islands grilled cheese sandwich or something. Like, well, here's a quick video about how we make it, and the recipe is in the comments or something like that. So that would be good social media, again, that we see is totally absent here. Okay, so let's go back and take a look at the rest of the bad list. So we saw text-based is bad, except on Twitter, because Twitter is known for being text-based, short, brief, black and white messages. If it's not genuine and it's not unique, so if it's just a whole bunch of buy one, get one half off posts, that's not going to get customers really involved. So you want something that is really authentic and seems like the posts are being written by someone who really cares and knows the business. If it's not creative, if it's inconsistent in terms of timing, also in terms of the writing being bad, if the writing is not consistently good across the board, there's spelling errors and all kinds of things that make it difficult to understand or read, that would be bad. If it's not targeted, so we don't want to have a business like 12 Islands posting things that aren't related to food or the community. So if it can be a little bit off the avenue of what the primary product or service is, especially in terms of community. It's always good for a local business to promote community, but you don't want it all over the place. It shouldn't just be like a personal Facebook page where random memes are posted and things don't come to a focus on the business itself. So let's look at a good social media presence, or at least it's better than what 12 Islands was. So again, I picked another restaurant here in Crown Point. This one's called La Quesadilla Mexican Grill. And we can see, at least they've got a 2020 post. So this is a little bit better. We've got a visual combined with our actual text right here. So that's great. And this is actually thanking customers, right? So it's a direct message to the customers, which is always a positive thing. So if we scroll down, we can see they're hiring. That's great. Oh, actually, so this post looks like it's pinned from 2020. So they are posting more recently. So February 6th, they're hiring. They included an image. February 5th, we've got Super Bowl weekend celebration, complete with images. They're not great images because the price is cut off and over here, we can't quite see everything, but the attempt and the effort to present visuals, since they're a restaurant, we have pictures of the food, that's what we wanna see, it's there. Oh, and look, like, comment, and share to win a La Quesadilla gift card. So there's a promotion built in. Promotions are good when done right. We come down February 2nd, we've got another promotion, $2 Taco Tuesday, some more pictures, and these are put together fairly well. December 30th. So we won't go any further than this, but you can kind of get the gist that like in February, I'm sorry that my dog is barking like that, you guys, I can't make it stop. So in February, we've got 1, 2, 3 posts so far in February, and it's only the 9th. So that's great. It means that there is some consistency. It means that someone is clearly paying attention to this Facebook page. They've got a pretty decent following, right? So we can just see how this is better than the previous 12 Islands page. If you find a business that has a presence like this, you're not going to choose it for your assignment because they don't need that much help. You wouldn't be trying to recruit them so that you could handle their social media because they're already doing a pretty good job. So you're looking for the businesses like 12 Islands where you can say, hey, you're missing out on an opportunity here. You could be posting more frequently. You could be getting customers involved, sharing your post, getting more people through the door. So the list here of the good qualities, the post will be audience specific. They'll be helpful. As I mentioned, like a restaurant sharing recipes is a good idea. They'll be interesting, engaging, and that's my little short list. So any questions about the difference between bad versus good and what you should be picking for your assignment?
No.
Okay. I recommend that you do a little bit of your own reading on this. I'm pretty sure I provided some readings about social media marketing in the required readings for the unit, but this is a really popular hot topic these days. So you can just Google like social media advertising and you'll find a ton of really easy to read articles that will just up your knowledge base a little bit more. This isn't a marketing class, so we don't go into great depth about it. That's beyond our purposes, but the more you know, the easier the assignment will be. So I do recommend just spending, 15 minutes doing a little bit of extra reading. One of the concepts that is important in this memo, because it's despite this not being a marketing class, it is a writing class, and writing for social media is a pretty big part of a lot of professional jobs these days. As I mentioned, like it's just an important aspect for any company to be able to reach out to more customers. So I do like to talk about the difference between product marketing and content marketing. Product marketing is what everybody is familiar with. It's directly pitching a product or a service. So if I'm like a plumbing company, my product marketing is saying, hey, I can unclog your toilet. That's the service that I offer. This is my product or my service, and this is what it costs, and I'm going to do a great job. Buy my service or buy my product and buy it here and buy it now. And this is really familiar to us in terms of old media. Like we hear these types of commercials on the radio, we see it in newspapers or, and I guess magazines, if anyone even looks at those anymore, billboards on the highway and on TV and commercials. We also see product marketing that just direct sales pitch on the web, of course, most frequently like in banners and pop-ups and things like that. More importantly is content marketing, which is new. Content marketing goes along with new media because it's a new marketing strategy. So this is important. Instead of actually pitching the product or service, content marketing provides relevant and useful content to the customer base to help them solve their issues. So an example of that could be like on Home Depot's Facebook page, they have links to like a do-it-yourself treehouse. So they will provide their customers with a full tutorial that includes a video as well as written instructions on how to build a treehouse. They provide it at no cost to you at all. And they don't even require that you buy anything from them. You might have your saw and your wood and everything else that you need at home, and you don't have to purchase a single thing from Home Depot. So just for free, they're giving you a high quality do-it-yourself project. And the idea then is that makes you like Home Depot, makes you trust Home Depot. It builds up some loyalty. Whenever you need to know how to do something, you realize Home Depot's got a video on it and they give it to me for free. Ultimately, when you do need to buy a new hammer or get some nails, the idea is that you will then want to go to Home Depot because you like them, you trust them, they've been helpful to you. So the whole purpose of content marketing is to give away information and helpful content for free, with the idea of building up trust and loyalty so that when the customer does need something, you are the person they go to, or you are the store that they go to. So a couple of other examples are like recipes for a restaurant, or if you were to pick a hair salon, if the hair salon is sharing tutorials on how to do your hair, something like that would be considered content marketing. Basically anything that's not actually selling something, but is providing useful, relevant information to the customer base. If you go to contentmarketinginstitute.com, you will find that that is a really helpful website to further explain and give examples of content marketing. And this video right here, which I will provide the link for in an announcement after I'm done with the meeting. It's just like 3 minutes long. It's really good. It's just a very quick kind of explanation of what content marketing is, why it works, and how it works. The reason why I'm recommending visiting contentmarketinginstitute.com and the YouTube video is to give you access to some of the language that will make your memo sound good and polished and like you know what you're talking about. Questions on product or content marketing?
No.
All right.
No.
Okay, so let's take a look at the assignment components, kind of a breakdown. So if you look at the inside Unit 2 post, you're going to see that I posted like an example of a fake memo that I typed up to like a table and chair company, I think is what I did. And it does follow this model. So you're going to have an opening statement. In your opening, that's where you're going to orient the reader, which means you're going to tell them who you are, that you're the owner of whatever cool social media company you decide to give it, you know, whatever name you want, and that you're new to the area and you notice that their social media could really use some help, right? So you have an opening statement to introduce yourself and tell them why you're writing. Then you're going to have a company background section that basically tells them about themselves. It's short, right? 3 to 5 sentences. You want them to know that you did your homework, that you know where they're located, what their product or service is. If you can dig up how long they've been open, how many employees they have, like little facts like that, just make it seem like, wow, this guy or girl really took the time to understand my business. So that establishes your credibility, which is of course ethos. So number 3, current social media presence. That's your third section. You want to talk about it. And of course, it's not good. So you have to be careful with how you're wording this. Much like in Unit 1, we didn't want to say, hey, all you old people who don't like social media, you got to get on board. We're not going to say, hey, business, you suck at social media. We're going to phrase it carefully, gently, and in a way that makes them want to be better and makes them want to use you as a company to help them be better. And then section 4 will be your plan, how you can improve their customer service, their social media presence. And number 5, details about your plan, why it will work. This is the most important section. It's going to be the most detailed. You want to make sure that you're choosing 2 social media platforms, not 3, not 4, not 1, just 2. Like I said, I think Facebook is smart for everybody. Your second choice, like if you're picking an accounting firm, your second choice might be Twitter or LinkedIn, because those are more on the professional side. If you're choosing a hair salon or like a nail like, you know, a pedicure manicure place or a restaurant, you might want to pick Instagram because that's more, or Snapchat, because those are highly visual platforms and those businesses and services lend themselves to visuals. You can also just Google what social media platform is best for the oil repair shop, or oil repair, for the oil change shop or car repair shop. And the internet will tell you what type of social media platform is best for what type of business. You want to discuss the target audience. So as an example, I'm going to stick with hair salon. You pick a hair salon, likely your target audience is going to be, you know, women between the ages of 25 and 55 or something like that. If you choose a barber shop, it's going to be men, maybe between the ages of 18 and up, right? So you want to pick an audience that makes sense for the company or the business that you've selected. And the reason for that is that when you make your recommendation of how to improve their social media presence, you're going to want to have your recommendations line up with what that audience is going to be interested in. So if we're talking about a barber shop, we're not going to have girly stuff because men usually frequent the barber shop. We're going to have maybe sports related or sports themed content, something like that. I guess that's kind of making a stereotype, but you should, I think, get the picture with that example. You're going to share how often they should post, and that's something that you can look up. Quick Google question: how often should my business post on Facebook? It's going to tell you. Share what to post and why, so that connects with the target audience discussion. And then you're going to include a final section, which is your appendix, where you're actually going to give them samples of, like, this is what my business can do for you. Here are 4 samples of what I would recommend posting on these 2 platforms. And then you will make sure to include 2 references within the report itself. So that was kind of quick. I have a little bit more detail on some of these sections for you. In the opening, which I'm suggesting 1 to 2 paragraphs is pretty sufficient. We already said we orient them. Why are we writing? Who are we? We establish credibility. And then in the background, we show the reader that we know about their business. The social media audit, or the discussion of their current social media presence, somewhere between 2 and 4 paragraphs. What is the current social media presence like? Obviously, it's not good. You want to tell them what is problematic about it. So don't just say it's not good, say it's not really as good as it could be because of A, B, C. You want to point those things out to them. If they are doing something well, because they could have overall a bad social media presence, but they might have done like 1 really great post 3 months ago. Tell them that, right? That's a way to kind of soften the blow that you're telling them it's bad overall, is you can say that post from, you know, Thanksgiving of 2020 was absolutely brilliant, something along those lines. So give them a compliment if you can find something to compliment. The plan, as I mentioned, is the most detailed part of your memo. So you're going to be telling them what you suggest they do to improve the social media presence, what 2 platforms that they should use, what types of posts they should make, how often they should post. And this section should reference the examples in the appendix. So again, you're going to be creating visual examples. I'll show you how to do that. And those visual examples that you put at the very end, you should be discussing them in the plan. So you might say something like, as you'll see in the appendix, example number 1 showcases one of your most liked recipes. Or example number 2 includes instructions on how to do this updo, which is a great post to do in the month of October because that's homecoming month, or something like that. So you're going to have these examples in the appendix. You're going to talk about the examples in the plan. Use subheadings. So we've used headings in Unit 1. Subheadings are the headings that go within the individual sections. So like before, let's say we had in Unit 1 a subheading called incentives, or a main heading called incentives. Then we could have a subheading that says round 1. And those could have been like for people who bet the deadline. And then round 2 would be another subheading for people who got their profile up to all-star level. And then round 3 could have been a discussion about if they made a certain amount of connections or got a certain amount of sales based on new customers that were connected to LinkedIn, there'd be another incentive. So subheadings are just a way to further break down the sections that you're already breaking down with your headings. Be specific in this section. The other sections are going to be a little bit broader and not as detailed, but this one needs to be kind of getting down to the nitty-gritty. And now again, I'll just emphasize your plan and your suggestion should include only 2 platforms. Don't go crazy. For each of the 2 platforms that you're suggesting, you want to touch on all of these boxes. So why this platform? You're not just going to say, you should use Twitter. I love Twitter. Twitter's the best. You're going to say you should use Twitter because a lot of your competitors are already doing a very good job on Twitter. We need to match that following. We need to get you on Twitter for that reason, right? So something along the lines of your competitors are using it, or maybe your competitors aren't yet using it, but it's a really smart path for you to jump onto. So offer them a reason. Just don't make it seem like it's arbitrary that you're suggesting the platforms that you are. How should it be set up at the beginning? So this one is not necessarily relevant if they've already got a profile established, like we saw with 12 Islands. They're already on Facebook. They don't need to know how to set it up. Like they're there, their address is there, their phone number's there. But if you're suggesting a platform that the company is not on at all, you want to give them at least a little bit of instruction on how to set up the profile. What kinds of posts should be made? Again, so here's where you're going to be talking about content marketing. It's okay to say that they should do some product marketing. Of course, we want the company to be selling their product or service, but content marketing is crucial to being successful on social media, and it's a required part of this memo. So you've got to discuss content marketing, tell them what it is, and then give them examples of content marketing posts. You're also going to talk about how they should maintain the account. Again, this is where research can get involved. Just do a Google search. How often should I post on? Oh, I'm losing my train of thought for the different examples. I guess LinkedIn, we could say, how often should I share an article on LinkedIn or something like that? And Google is just a wealth of information when it comes to social media marketing. You will not believe how many different studies have been done to figure out how often posting should happen, what time of day posting should happen. Like literally on Facebook, posting between 11:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. in your target audience's time zone. Those are peak numbers. And then again, between 7 and 9 p.m. If you post during those times, that's when you are most likely to get the most views, shares, likes, and comments. Outside of those hours, the numbers drop significantly. You'll find that Pew Research Group, Pew is P-E-W, they have tons and tons of data and statistics about different social media platforms, and they are a super reliable source that you can use really in any class. Like Pew Research Group is a well-known, well-respected research group. So that's one I would recommend. And then you want to tell them what kind of results the client can expect to see from your plan. So obviously, you're going to tell them that they can expect to see good results. You're just going to be kind of making this up as you go. kind of, as we will do when we are working on like a case scenario, like with the LinkedIn memo, you had to make some of that stuff up, the training and the incentives. Same here. You're going to make up the results. They're going to be good. You're going to tell them that more people are going to like them. More people are going to come through the door. Their profit's going to increase, right? That's your selling point. And as we talked about, refer to each sample that's in the appendix at least once in your plan. The appendix itself should include 4 total examples. You're going to include 2 examples per platform. One should be content marketing, one should be product marketing. Then you're going to justify why each example is relevant / effective. And please do not actually post your examples on social media. This is just an exercise. Although, truth be told, if you really are into this stuff or you're a marketing major, you can take this type of assignment and take it live. I did so myself when I first developed this project, and I got a job out of it. I did social media marketing for a year for a local real estate firm. It paid pretty well. It was pretty fun, and now it's on my resume. So you can take this assignment to the next level if you're into it and actually dig into the research a little bit more and deliver your memo to the company, and you might just get like a freelance social media gig out of it. I know there's at least one person here in class who's doing social media marketing, I think for a car dealership. So it's fun, and anybody can do it if you learn about it. It's kind of a cool thing. So you don't have to do that, but you can. Okay, so right here, I had the word example come up because I just want to show you an easy way to create the appendix. So you can do it just in a Word document. So let's say you're going to pick a pet store. So let's say we want to do dog bath. Just do a Google image for our purposes. I don't care if they're copyrighted. That doesn't matter at all. Because we're not, unless now, I should say this back, if you're going to take this live, you cannot use copyrighted images. So reach out to me and let me know if you want to make this more than an assignment, and I can guide you to the right places to find copyright-free images. Let's do bathing a dog. That's what we want. Okay, so we'll just take this one. So just find a picture on Google that works for you, copy the image, pop it onto Microsoft Word. You can use the picture format tool up here to dress it up a little bit if you want to. And that's right here. We can like add a little reflection, or, it's probably appropriate to just stick a frame on it. And then you're going to insert 2 text boxes. So we went to insert up here, text box over to the right, just a simple text box. You want to put the text box where you want to put it. You have to select this little layout options menu. And if you choose tight, it should, oh, maybe I chose the wrong one. Through, top and bottom, behind text, in front of text. So in front of text will allow you to put the text box wherever you want it. So we want to line it up right here. And then you can either do that process again, insert another text box, or you can just select it. And I'm using the keyboard shortcut to copy, Control-C, and I'm pasting. So now I've got 2. In your top box here, you're going to have your sample post, which could be tired of your dog making a mess in the bathroom. Visit us this Friday for 50% off grooming services. Okay, so very simple product marketing post, right? It's including a visual. That's always important. We're giving the customer, the potential client, some text that they could work with. And then here in the second box, we're going to have a little explanation. So we would say, including a picture will get your followers attention. Offering a discount on a slow day will bring more customers through the door. So we'll assume that Friday is a slow day for the pet salon or the grooming shop, whatever it may be. And you can just arrange them like that. So this is what your appendix, like we would type, I suppose, up at the top, not in the header, but if we moved it down a little bit, we gotta go back to this. So if we move things down, then we can make this look nice and type. And then you would just repeat that for your example 2 on Facebook, and then you'd have example 1 on, say, Instagram, and example 2 on Instagram. So this is my expectation for the appendix. Doing something like this will earn you an A on this section. If you want to dress it up even more, if you want it to be fancier, you can make it fancier and more impressive. But this is all I'm expecting, so it's pretty basic. Something cool that you can do if you're really into it is you can do like Facebook post template. So you can get something like this, use this image, and then paste like an image on top of an image so that you're kind of getting a little bit more of the branding aspect of things going on if you want to, not required, but you can. I just wanted you to know that it exists. Okay, so just about to wrap up here. I want to make sure that you guys know for your references, use APA format, and there's a discussion post that goes over correct APA formatting for both your in-text citations as well as your reference page. Again, you're going to have at least 2 sources, and you want to avoid, you don't actually have to avoid direct quotes, but you have to avoid really lengthy direct quotes. So don't quote like 5 lines of an article in a row. That's way too much quoting. Like 1 sentence or 1 phrase at a time, and then break that up with your own writing before you use another quote. You can paraphrase, but direct quoting should be limited in terms of length. The other kind of basic requirements, about 2 pages is enough for this, plus or minus is fine. That does not include the appendix. Make sure that you've got your header, just like last time, to, from, date, subject. Your headings and subheadings, make sure we're single spaced, left aligned. Just about everybody did that really well in Unit 1, so just keep up with that. And no cover page. We don't need to put, the class name or my name or anything like that here on this assignment. Your due date, you've got quite a while. This is due Sunday, the 21st. So just about 2 weeks you have to work on this. Make sure that you're checking the due dates for the week 2 discussion deadline. And that's because usually your posts are due on Thursdays. And then if there's a peer response required, that's due on Sunday. But there's something that's different. I don't remember what it is now, but something is different in week 2 of this unit with a deadline. So make sure that you're checking that. And that wraps up our Unit 2 Zoom meeting. I know I threw a lot at you and I talked a lot and really quickly. I'm sorry for that, but I wanted to give you all of the answers, essentially. I wanted to tell you exactly what you need to do in order to get an A on the assignment. So do you guys have any questions for me at this point?
So the references, that we'll include will be from like our Google searches, like when we have to look online to get like examples of different things. Is that what the references will be?
Yes. So I'm really quick. I'm just navigating into the course because I want to see what readings I included. So let me come back and share my screen with you real quick. So the references can come from your readings for Unit 2. So social media marketing, this video of what content marketing is, content marketing explained, because in your memo, you're going to probably want to tell the client what content marketing is. It's highly unlikely they know. So if you use some of the explanation that you find from this article, then this article could be one of your references or one of your sources that you use. Here's another example. When should my business post on Facebook? So let's say you choose Facebook as one of the platforms you want to recommend, and we'll go. Any of these would work. I'm just looking coschedule.com, Ballantine.com. We'll just go with this first one. So credible sources, and we haven't really talked about this yet, but we will later in the semester. In our case, we're talking about like marketing. We don't need to use academic journals as credible sources. That's usually the case in college courses, is that you have to take things from the library and they have to be highly academic. Not at all the case when we're talking about business and marketing. So this is a current article. It's from 2020, how often to post on social media. So let's see. So they're going to talk about how often to post on Facebook, and that's what we were looking for. So most studies agree that posting once per day on Facebook is optimal with a maximum of 2 posts per day. So in your memo, if you're talking about Facebook and you say, I really think you need to get on Facebook and start posting, you should do this once per day, but never more than twice per day. Then you could use this as your research source for that information.
All right, I got it. Thanks.
No problem. Other questions? Okay, if you don't have any questions for me, feel free to sign off. Have a great night. Remember, no meeting next week. We only have the meetings on the first Tuesday of each unit. So if you have other questions, you can email me and I'll hang around until everybody's gone.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Professor.
Hello.
This is Nakia. I was kind of lost on the last assignment on the last memo, like doing the whole